Carol, I don't know about New Hampshire, but I'll tell you this about Texas. If I had an opponent that had this many people out on a Sunday afternoon, I'd have a migraine headache. And what an honor to be in a room with so many men and women who have sacrificed so much in behalf of the American family and my family. I'm honored to be with all of you. Now, I was asked a few minutes ago to keep my remarks to 3 minutes. I want to tell you, for a slow-talking Texan, it usually takes me 6 minutes to say what others could say in 3. So I'm going to try to be as brief as I possibly can. But I came here, I guess, 1,800 miles, my first trip to New Hampshire. What a beautiful state. I came here today for one reason. I care deeply about the country and world in which my 11-year-old son and 12-year-old son will grow up in. And I know that it's a better, safer world because of the men and women who've served in this room who are now helping as veterans Carol Shea-Porter be reelected to Congress. I want to tell you why I have such respect for your neighbor and your friend. First, she had the courage to run for office. And I know that's difficult. If anybody can empathize with her running in a tough district, I represent not only George Bush's 41 library, I represent a little town called Crawford, Texas. And I will tell you, I do bring you greetings from Crawford. It's a great community. It has a Republican president living in it, but I am proud to say it has a Democratic congressman representing it. By having the courage to run for Congress against a Republican incumbent, and with your help winning that race, Carol and her colleagues last year, the new members, changed Congress more than I and others had changed it in the 18 years that I had been there. Why? Because by retiring the Tom DeLays of this world, who had an iron grip and a right-wing agenda in the U.S. House, let me tell you what she has enabled to happen. First, the passage of a children's health insurance bill, even though the president vetoed it, we'll get it passed, that will increase health care for 4 million children of working families. By Carol changing the leadership and coming to Congress, for those of us who dream about our children being able to afford and our grandchildren being able to afford to enjoy the American dream by getting a college education, she helped reverse the previous Congress's action to cut college student financial aid by $13 billion. So because of Carol being in Congress, we're now going to have millions of children in this country who will have an opportunity to reach their highest God-given potential. And I thank you for electing her for that reason. For those of us, and we all care about this, who want to lessen our dependence upon foreign energy, because of Carol's election and the new leadership she brought in, for the first time in over 2 decades, we passed new CAFE standards, new mile efficiency standards for American automobiles, and that will make a big difference and ultimately help bring down energy prices. And finally, but certainly not least, something I care about deeply, is the son of a World War II naval aviator, and as someone who represented for 14 years during 3 combat operations, the largest Army installation in the world, Fort Hood, as Mike said. I care deeply about those of you who have sacrificed to make this country a better, safer place. And let me tell you what Carol has done as a champion in that area. Because I tell you what, one of the things I really love about her is I'd like her to be my next door neighbor. She's a kind, decent, caring person. And she has a rare character trait in Washington. She has humility. She wouldn't tell you what I want to tell you. All we've done for veterans in the last 2 years, the largest increase in VA healthcare funding, as Mike said, in the history of the Veterans Administration, wouldn't have happened had it not been for Carol and her colleagues being elected and changing the leadership in Congress. $16.4 billion increase in VA healthcare and benefits in less than 2 years. You know what that is, to put it in perspective? With Carol's active leadership as a member of the House Armed Services Committee in her election, and are working together with me and others, we have increased veterans' health care and benefits by more in 2 years than previous Congresses did in 12 years. 2 years versus 12 years. You know, and I can talk budgets and policies all day long, but let me tell you what this really means. It means that Iraq and Afghan war veterans coming back, suffering from mental health care issues and problems, are going to automatically be tested when they go into the VA healthcare system for both PTSD and traumatic brain injury. For veterans of all eras, it means 15,000 new VA healthcare employees, doctors, nurses, assistants provide better care, more services, and shorter waiting times for doctors' appointments. For hundreds of thousands of veterans who didn't wait when Uncle Sam said it's your time to go serve in harm's way to protect our country. For 400,000 of those waiting on average 6 months to get their earned benefits started because of a lack of VA employees to consider their cases. 5,200 new VA claims adjusters because you had the courage to elect Carol Shea-Porter in an election where people said she had no chance of winning. That's the difference. Better health care, better benefits, more timely benefits for veterans, not just here in New Hampshire, but all across America, from my district to hers.
When?
That's the benefit. It's happening right now, right here in Manchester. We just visited the hospital, not a campaign visit, a congressional visit. We learned there are 125 new employees at your hospital here because of the legislation that Carol made possible last year. Let's just and finally, let me say this, and this is my own personal bias, but if there is a crying need for anything in Washington, it's a need to see that the voice of average working families is not drowned out by the power of special moneyed interest in Washington. And with her election, and she was active in this, she helped pass the most important ethics reform bill in my adult lifetime, where we built a wall between members of Congress and lobbyists, many members of which were whining and dining every night with the lobbyist. And over time, you know, lobbyists aren't all bad. People have a right to hire lobbyists, but you know what? They don't have a right to have a megaphone through their money that's so loud that your voice, and the voice of good, decent, hard-working veterans and families and firemen and teachers and small business owners and employees of factories, that their voices are drowned out. She proved that the voice of average citizens can and will be heard by winning a race where she was outspent by, I don't know how many dollars. I know it was an overwhelming amount. In doing that, she inspired a lot of us to realize we can do what she has done. And she's continued, since being elected, to be that voice, not for the wealthy special interest, the narrow special interest, but for the interest of the American family. And I just believe deeply that's what we need in Washington. And I want to just say where one person can make a difference. I carry a very heavy burden in my life. I want you to know this. When I was 26 years old, I had the gall to run against a former economics professor of mine for Congress. I looked like I was about 16. When I was 26, I lost by 115 votes to a guy named Phil Graham. Have you ever heard that name? I don't want you to have the burden that I've felt since 1978. Well, at least my credibility ought to be good. Everything I said about him turned out to be true. And yes, that is America is a bunch of whiners, and this is a psychological recession, Phil Graham. That's the guy. My point is this. If I had had a meeting like this on a Sunday afternoon like this, and this many people got one extra person to go to the polls, Phil Graham and Graham Latta that kicked millions of people out of health care and education and job training programs, that bill would have never become law. So you can make a difference in this room. I believe strongly enough in it that I wanted to come here. And it takes a lot to get me away from my 11 and 12-year-old sons and my wife. This is my first visit to do a campaign trip since I became chairman of the VA and Military Construction Subcommittee. But it was an honor to have the chance to come here because I care so deeply about Carol Shea-Porter, her principles, her ethics, her passion for being a voice for all Americans, not just a privileged few. Thank you for giving me the privilege to join with you and helping re-elect her. Let's welcome your friend and our leader, Carol Shea-Porter.